Welcome to your December 2025 General Astrology Forecast. In this video, we are going to be going over the major themes, major astrological energies for December 2025. And then in videos to come, we will go into each sign specifically. However, in those individual videos, I do not go over the generalities that I go over in this video, so I do encourage you to watch this one all the way through to get a better idea of what's going on as I go in depth into the Sabian symbols and overall meanings of everything that is going on. I'm Sarah at Life with Training Wheels, where I utilize a Western Tropical Zodiac astrology, whole sign house system, and other tools to help guide you on your journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment. My goal is to help you realize that life really is a choose-your-own adventure. You have more control over your life and your thoughts than you think you do, and we really do make this world our reality. One of my favorite quotes is, "Wherever you go, there you are." So if you keep finding yourself in certain situations, good or bad, it may be a time to look into the mirror. If that sounds like something you want to stick around for, a vibe that you can vibe with, then I encourage you to stick around. If this is your first time finding me, thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll stay. If you are returning, thank you so much for returning. Either way, if you could go ahead and engage with this video in some way, like, subscribe, comment, anything like that, it will help my tiny channel grow, and I greatly appreciate it. So just a little housekeeping before we get started on the December 2025 horoscope. I just want to let you know about an astrology course that I have going on now. It is called Your First Astrology Course, and it's a 6-week beginner course taking you basically from zero to understanding the basics of a natal chart, your sun, moon, and rising, and how to take these astrology forecasts and personalize them more to your own chart. I have recorded the first 2 weeks of that astrology course. It is on sale now. You can look for the description and link in the description box below. I also have a Patreon membership where I teach an astrology concept or something about the natal chart and reading your own birth chart every month. And in that subscription, not only do you get the teaching video of the month, but you also get a personal natal chart reading from me, approximately 20 minutes long, going into detail of your personal chart about whatever the topic is we are covering that month. So it's kind of like a getting to know astrology as well as getting to know yourself monthly subscription. You can find the details for that in the description box below as well. And then I am offering, it was part of my Black Friday sale, but I am continuing it through all of December. If you sign up for my newsletter, you will get $25 off any of my services. So that will be in the description box below as well. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so this December 2025 general astrology forecast shows that we have that Grand Water Trine from last month that was active all month last month, continuing through about the first half of this month, continuing through about December 13th. So we still have some time to work with those energies, the blessings, the abundance, all those things that are coming to us. The planet that is making this Grand Water Trine active throughout the first half of December is Mercury, as it, had at the end of the month stationed retrograde and was retrograding back into Scorpio. And at the end of November, it turned direct. And so through the first half of December, it will be moving its way back through Scorpio, continuing this Grand Water Trine. So this will bring a lot of mental activity to the Grand Water Trine, perhaps continuing to increase our psychic abilities, our intuition, just bringing greater clarity and understanding to opportunities that we may have missed with Jupiter being retrograde, or that are coming back around, or what we need to do with this Saturn-Neptune energy as we continue to work with that. And that will be a big part of this month as well. So continuing on with talking about the importance of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So at the end of last month, November, Saturn turned direct. This month, on December 10th, we have Neptune turning direct as well. So now we have both Saturn and Neptune direct in Pisces, which is helping us move forward, close out. We've been doing all this internal work on figuring out the things we need to let go of, the boundaries we need to set, the boundaries we need to let go of. All of these things, closing out all the old cycles that we need to close out, both collectively and individually, so that we can start building the new versions of us, building the new versions of our society that we want to see. And now, with both of these planets direct, we can really start solidifying and really solidifying, closing out those old cycles, as well as preparing for really starting the building process of building these new things once these planets move into Aries. And we really have until January to do that. At the end of January, Neptune will be the first of the two planets to move into Aries, to kind of continue dreaming what we want to bring into existence. And then once Saturn comes to mate it later in the early part of January 26, we'll really start building it. But like I said in last month's video, I think it's really great that Saturn is the first one to turn direct now, to start really putting those, laying that foundation. And we do still, with the North Node in Pisces, there are some strong foundations in our spirituality, in our discernment, and things of that nature that we really need to have steady, have figured out before we move into the new season of January 2026. The other energy that will be going on in the background all month long, and it has been for several months now, is the mini Grand Trine that is going on between Saturn and Neptune, and between the outer planets. This is like the divine mini Grand Trine that I've been talking about, this very supportive divine energy that is helping guide us to the best future possible, I believe, between Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus now, and Pluto in Aquarius. So this mini Grand Trine energy will be active as well, but the energy that is going to be strongest felt of those, at least the first half of the month, is the Uranus and Neptune sextile. That was exact last month. I am going to be doing a video about that, and you can go and check out my daily shorts. I think it was a 3-part series on this Uranus and Neptune sextile and how rare it is. And I will be doing a video about how to more actively work with this energy within your own chart. This mini grand sextile, I looked into it a little bit more, or mini grand trine, overall is going to be with us. Really, I didn't look beyond 2029, but it will be with us through from now until 2029, with only a couple breaks here and there where the planets, either in their retrograde direct motions, fall out of what we consider the orb of influence for like maybe 2 to 3 months each year at the end of the year, like fall area. But other than that, this mini grand trine, this divine energy supporting us, is going to be lasting at least through 2029. I did not look into 2030, but I find this fascinating. So that is one reason why I want to do a video deep diving on it more, but especially considering the Uranus and Neptune sextile, since we just had that exact. And so that is the energy, the part of this energy that we want to work with more immediately in our own personal lives as well, to get the most out of it and to really work with the energy when it is the most potent for us. So keep your eyes out for that video. Should be coming within the next week or so. The other main energy that we're working with all month long is a trine between Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer. So this is a pretty wonderful energy. You know, we had earlier in the year, we had them squaring each other, which was kind of this push-pull between Jupiter wants to expand and Saturn wants you to slow down and build foundations and make sure that, you know, you've got all your ducks in a row and everything. And now that Saturn is direct, Jupiter is still retrograde all month long. So there is that little piece of it, but with them being in a trine, you know, Jupiter is still expanding, and it really wants to help expand now that you are more aware of the foundation that needs to be set. Jupiter wants to help you expand that foundation. But with Jupiter being retrograde, it is kind of even though it is helping expand that energy, it is doing so in a more like slow, methodical manner to make sure that we do get the foundation right, because we really are in this wonderful cosmic time period of building. You know, there's so much that is ending. We can just look in our world and see so many systems collapsing, whether that is governments or institutions or whatever. And this Jupiter retrograde trine Saturn is really helping us figure out, well, what do we want to build? Like, let's finish tearing this stuff down and let's build this strong foundation. But let's make sure, you know, Jupiter not only expands, but it is also a very forward thinking. It is a very like, it wants your belief systems to match up with the foundation that you're laying. So that is kind of what we're doing on a personal and a collective level all month long in December, in preparation for next spring, when these planets start moving into their new signs, where they remain for the remainder of their longer cycles. They won't be retrograding back like they have all of 2025. Once they move into the new signs in 2026, they're going to stay, and we're going to really get some forward momentum in 2026. But with the Saturn and Jupiter trine, we're really going to get that energy of building the foundation, but building slowly and expanding slowly so that we're not getting ahead of ourselves. The second half of the month, we also have a pretty continuous square between the Sun, then Venus, and then Mercury, and that will be in Sagittarius. So the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, as they move through Sagittarius, will be making a square to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So Sagittarius energy is a mutable fire sign. So fire signs, right, they want to activate, they want to get things going, they want to move. And mutable energy is changeable. So the mutable signs are, good at taking what's working and changing it, molding it into what will now work better. And they are good at releasing and letting things go and starting new things at the same time. So this square, and Sagittarius is also about the bigger picture, right? It's the guy on the horse or the centaur, with his bow aiming for the future. So very future oriented, goal setting, bigger picture type energy. And a square is calling for us to make a change, to adapt. So this energy of first the Sun, which is where we're highlighting, where we're focusing, where we are putting our vitality, shining a light on things. So that square with the Sun between Saturn and Neptune will be really highlighting those things that where to put the vision and the dream into action, into how to get it going. And then Venus will be kind of the square there, will be making sure, Venus represents our finances, our relationships, and our overall value system. So the square there will be making sure that what we're starting to build, the things we're finishing on releasing, are aligned with our value system, are aligned with our budget, are aligned with our relationships, and those types of things. And then when Mercury comes into square, it'll be, Mercury is our mind and our communication. And so it'll be helping us to see and to really look at the details of what we need to do to finish letting go of the things we need to let go, and how to build and start laying that foundation of the boundaries that we need to have, the boundaries or walls that we need to let go of, like how to really put that into action. So the Sun will be squaring to kind of highlight it, to bring things to our attention. Venus will be there to make sure that any finances or relationships or just our overall value system are being considered. And then Mercury is going to follow behind that to make sure that we are looking at the details, that we're able to start communicating the things that we are trying to put into action, how to put the pen to paper, right? How to actually start making it happen. And squares can often be felt as a tension of sorts, right? Because squares are attention, and they do require typically some, decisions to be made and things like that. But I really see this square as very helpful, getting us to figure out how to start moving forward. And with, we've had all this energy in the water signs, which is very flowy, very passive energy. And now with all this square with the fire sign Sagittarius, we're starting to put those things into action. So we've received all this all this opportunity, all these insights. We've been very receptive in receiving information, and now it's time to start actually acting on it, which is very, very exciting. So hopefully the energy towards the second half of December especially, you'll feel like you're starting to finally be able to move forward on some of these things that have been going on in your mind and your emotional world, and you'll finally get to put some action behind it. So then the last two things, and I will have separate videos for these going into these in detail, but is we do have a full moon in Gemini on December 4th. So wherever Gemini falls in your personal chart, that is where this full moon will be felt the most. And then we will have a new moon in Sagittarius on December 19th. So the only other energy I want to go over is I like looking at the Sabian symbols when there are planets that are, staying pretty much within the same degree the entire month. So for this month, I want to look at Neptune, as Neptune will be at the 29th degree all month. Pluto is changing degrees from 1 degree of Aquarius to 2 degrees of Aquarius, where it will remain all month long. So I want to look at that degree as well, the 2nd degree of Aquarius, which would be the 3rd degree in the Sabian symbol. And then Chiron is going to move back to 22 degrees of Aries. So I want to review what the Sabian symbol is for that degree as well. Okay, so Neptune at 30 degrees or 29 degrees, 29 to 30 degrees of Pisces. This is the final, final point of the whole zodiac, the final Sabian symbol. So it is the great stone face, becoming our own ideal. Okay, so becoming our own ideal. There's no right answer to or best version of anything. We make it all up according to how we feel or think we should. We become whatever we idealize. So, kind of all about manifestation, and we create our own reality. Instead of ending our journey, we find that we have become the seed of yet another cycle of experimentation. We idealize many things, love, truth, and God itself, for example, and this is how we become aware of our relationship with archetypes. The essential conundrum with which Plato and Aristotle wrestle without resolution is whether we create the archetypes or the archetypes create us. The exact same puzzle is posed in the Hindu scripture, the Mahabharata. Do we create God, or does God create us? This is the mystery of life, and simply put, it is that life is a mystery, a paradox, and not within our grasp to understand. Life, God, oneself are all beyond our comprehension, and yet divine curiosity to know more of the eternal paradox is the very motivation that began it all and keeps it all going. What we see when we look is nothing more and nothing less than our expectation. Okay, moving on. A rock formation like a face is idealized by a boy who, as he grows up, begins to look like it. First imagine, then expect. In a story by American author Hawthorne, there is a rock formation imagined to resemble the shape and features of a human face. Folklore suggests that one would be born whose features would resemble the great stone face and be recognized as the greatest and noblest personage of his time. The twist in the story is that a humble young man who sets out on a quest to find the hero ends up much later recognized as the hero himself. Yet he walks away still hoping that there would one day appear some wiser and better man than he. Each of us selects an image within to which we shape ourselves outwardly, and this is what we come to resemble. The great stone face represents the externalization of inner aspiration, which subsequently becomes our life goal. More than anything, we desire to realize in actuality the vision we create of the ideal person, who we would at all costs become. And in normal terms, we find someone to admire whom we wish to copy and eventually equal. This means constantly expressing the manifestation of our ideal as a normal way of life. Such unwavering integrity of just being authentic has an irresistible influence on the course of events. Our own self-idealization encourages others in their own alignment to eternal reality. This is impactful. Destiny is then seen as nothing more than character as it mostly persistently constitutes itself. If we are confused or self-denying, then our creation can be no more than a wholly inarticulate, ineffectual self-denigration. Otherwise, it can be unsurpassed perfection of human potential. All depends upon our self-created self-image and our consistent expression of that image into actuality. It is the essence of human responsibility to act our personal destiny. That is big. And this is an aspect of the immortality of the soul. Whatever the soul's destiny aligns with our personal destiny. Whenever we can reach our optimal degree of self-expression depends on the discernment of two things, envisioning and realizing. First we must imagine, then we must expect, and stay true to that expectation. And Neptune being at this degree point is amazing because Neptune is the planet of idealization, of dreaming things into reality, of dreaming how good can it get, right? And so with it being conjunct Saturn and working with Saturn, I really think we are working on this. What is the best idealization? What is the best that I can be? Who do I want to become? And what do I want to see the world become? And dreaming it and feeling it so passionately, right? And then because we're feeling it so passionately and because we're idealizing it and trying to live it and create it every day, especially with Saturn here with it, we will be able to create that. And especially, again, as we're in this 29th degree of envisioning it and starting to, act it out. And then when we get into Aries, we'll really put the action into creating this vision into reality. So this is really beautiful that we are still sitting in this energy right now with Neptune. Okay, so now Pluto. Pluto this month is moving from 1 degree 54 minutes of Aquarius, which would be the second Sabian symbol, to all the way to 2 degrees and 43 minutes of Aquarius, so moving into this Aquarius 3 Sabian symbol. So this is a deserter from the Navy. Refusal to accept the unacceptable. Certain of society's constraints and requirements are simply inappropriate for us, and we cannot and must not comply. Refusing to comply with inappropriate authority. Isn't this just beautiful and does speak to where we are at in society right now and all over the world, really? So it says, whatever can endure on the inner planes withstands all that comes. This ability to face life head on and meet all things without buckling under is earned, not gifted. It inevitably requires the individual must go against society and its norms and rules in order to find their own unique true path. And I think that is something that we are doing collectively and individually, right? Figuring out that we cannot comply with inappropriate authority, which is there is a lot of, and how do we do that on an individual level, which then leads to the collective level. So moving on, a deserter from the Navy. Unless we create our own loyalties, the future appears shallow and pointless. Boy, can we all feel that energy. This is a statement of human independence carried to a point of extreme rebellion against things as they are, whenever our life circumstances are simply unacceptable. And our life circumstances are unacceptable right now, right? Like, all the systems are collapsing. We can't afford anything. Like, this world is crazy right now. Where tyranny rules, then defiance is the action of a hero, which requires the psychological condition known as death or glory. For the sake of an immediate liberation of the spirit, we will disregard all the consequences of authority's displeasure and social disapproval. Freedom is primary quality and equates to the life force. It is the enactment of spirit and will not be held in place for long. The soul's demand for a fully rewarding expression of individuality cannot be ignored without serious personal consequences. Anything we are forced to do that betrays the soul will attract unpleasantness and eventually suffering. And this is true. We can see this within our own personal lives. When I feel like my expression of individuality and the things that I feel that I'm here to do are being threatened, it feels like I am betraying my soul, and it leads to internal suffering and I think that a lot of this is kind of like the Chiron wound in Aries that we're working with, right? Where we've held ourselves down for the sake of others. It betrays our soul and leads to our own internal suffering. So that is something that we're working with this energy as well. It takes genuine psychological courage to bring about an appropriate repudiation of all meaningless loyalties. This usually calls upon a combination of very clear thinking and certainty of purpose, together with strong resolve and willingness to make sacrifices. Very important sentence. And yet this is an imperative, because except as we create our own allegiances, destiny holds no depth of meaning, is shallow, and feels pointless. We can thus infer the central importance of daring to defy, since its absence guarantees such mediocrity. It is made clear that any late acceptance of full and personal responsibility for life is better than none at all. Perhaps we should not have signed up in the first place, but better a late correction than no correction, and here we are, all correcting. We began life as children, powerless to protest against injustice, which excuses our earlier inability to act. But as adults, that is no longer the case, and we must now act. That said, a deserter from the Navy could also indicate a person whose complete inability to follow the rules of the game is neurotic and indicative of immaturity. So hero or villain then? It is in the end for us to decide for ourselves. This very much sums up, I think, where we are and the energy of December before we lead into 2026, where we will start. The energy will start 2025 with all these outer planets going back and forth between signs. Has been very like, well, let's start things new, but we need to finish tearing things down. The energy of 2026 is going to, as the planets move into their new signs in the first half, the first quarter of January 2026, we're going to start moving this energy. We're going to finish tearing all these things down, and then the remaining 3 quarters of 2026 is going to be building up the new. And I feel like, I don't know where Pluto is going to be then, but I feel like this energy very much is, guiding us and telling us that we need to, be certain of what we where we are going to refuse to comply, and getting clear on that before we move into 2026. And last but not least, Chiron in Aries. So it will, for the most of the month, be in the 22nd degree of Aries. So we look to the Sabian symbol Aries 23. So this is woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. The rich potential of every moment and situation. Assertiveness and desire together give birth to creative new possibilities. Creative assertiveness towards furtherment of potentials. When clear and assertive purpose applies to a field of potential, something else is brought into being. Existence is not sterile. It is brimming with a polarized life force that cannot fail to create new life. Man, woman, child is a pattern that repeats universally as artist, materials, artworks, for example, or ideal, limitation, inventiveness. Pregnant woman in a light summer dress. Vitality does not find its exaltation in pretty things. A modest woman with her own burdens is somewhat disinclined to open up. We consider here the basic importance of anchoring ourselves inwardly. In order to attend to our own issues, we must somehow cut ourselves off and establish a wall against intrusion. This is our boundaries, right? This can be done elegantly and without giving offense by veiling ourselves and being cautious about opening up to new things. Each of us can reach up to a state of personal brilliance. For this to occur, the various elements need to be in correct relationship, and we have to give them our fullest attention, investing our sense of identity within them rather than externals. We must not engage in trivia if we are to remain true, since actually we each have the capacity for genius, but becoming bogged down in pettifogging niceties will certainly erode this capacity. So we need to be certain of who we are and what we want without letting the outer world dictate to us who we are, right? It is best to avoid situations where there is pressure to conform to low standards of interaction. We must to defend ourselves against the insidious vampirism of those people who drag us down to their level of mediocrity. If we lack true involvement, then external events are mostly distractions. Any experience of enduring value is established only to the extent that we take personal responsibility for its outcome. Yes, we create our own life, and whatever we let into our life, into our minds, can either help uplift us or keep us down, right? Personal integrity. It is easier to say no than goodbye, so it is usually better to resist new involvement than abruptly curtail what has already begun. We can afford to understate our aims while we establish the worth of engagement. In fact, our very vitality and personal integrity will often depend on such an approach. We do not want to disappoint another. It could lead to resentment and perhaps attack. Such an attitude, where we concern ourselves deeply with what is our business and shy away from what is not, leads towards an unimpeachable integrity of character. It also promotes a great fullness of life, not only for us, but also as a significant and proper contribution to the community. This is because we successfully engage with what we are doing with not much wastage of effort, right? When we're living in our true purpose, our true identity, who we truly are, and not doing it in order to harm anybody else or anything like that, right? We are contributing our best and highest to ourselves and to the world. We may need honestly to identify any disinclination to engage with the community at large on fair terms, and to check that we are not taking more than we are giving. Eventually, this would bring distress. We can see this in the world as well. It becomes clear that most interactions are inconsequential and that the superficial variances between people are unimportant. If we are not careful, we can easily waste too much time and energy dealing with things of no ultimate worth. A certain reticence to become involved with such trivial matters may therefore be particularly helpful when we have heavy loads to carry. So this is kind of talking to me about, this creation, and we can, we are best to stick to our own creative assertiveness towards the furtherment of our potentials and being the best that we can be. And that is what we're working with, right? Not only the Pluto energy of figuring out where we don't want to engage or be subject to tyranny or things of that nature, but who we really want to become and what is important to us, and not letting things stand in our way of becoming our highest and best selves. Whether that's people or government, right? Staying true to ourselves and true to our own creation, because we are divine and we are beautiful. So that is the overall energy for December 2025. I hope this brings you some guidance on how to move through December, and please keep your eyes open for the forecast where I go into each sign and what this might mean for your own sign. But overall, I would, continue to look to that Pisces Aries area of finishing letting things go in Pisces and what we need to do there. Look at where Gemini falls for you for the full moon, Sagittarius. Look at where Jupiter is retrograde, so Cancer. Look at where Cancer is in your chart and how Jupiter and Saturn in Cancer and Pisces, whatever those two houses are in, are going to be working together for you. And then the second half, the continuous square between Sagittarius and Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. So again, what house Sagittarius and Pisces are in, these are going to be the really big energies for you this month. So I hope this treated you well. Comment below with how you're feeling going into December, and comment below with any other questions or anything you have, and I hope to see you back here soon.